Alicia, and I sleep like shit most of the time.
I'm Eric, and I now have meh stuck in my head.
I'm Ryan. That was my name. I'm Ryan, and I only date celebrities in my dream.
I'm Grayson, and you may say I'm a dreamer.
Wow.
What?
It's a very musical podcast
So
today.
let's roll for funny there.
Yeah. You're rude, but okay.
Oh no.
18.
Oh, no.
I can't tell what that says.
I'm hilarious.
Rolled an 8.
19.
I rolled a 2.
Is this another Bitrick cast?
It's a bitch trick cast.
Oh my god.
Cast.
I don't know if I like the name of that.
Trick cast.
Bit trick cast. Bit
Tits cast.
trick cast. Bit trick cast.
Okay.
Wow, I love how you guys had no energy 5 minutes ago, and immediately you're on.
As soon as he hits record. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just on.
Yeah.
I just got one thing to say for everybody. Grayson Tato. Grayson Tato. Grayson Tato. Grayson Tato.
That's my hype song that Ryan made up for me.
What's the podcast about today?
We're going to talk about dreams today.
Ooh.
But before, just as a little chit chat at the beginning. Is anyone...
Does anybody remember that?
Yes.
Shark Boy and Lava Girl?
Oh, God. Taylor Lautner.
I just love when he's like, I'll punch you in your mouth. Dream.
Do it again.
Okay, so speaking of dreams, I did not have nightmares over this last night, but I really thought I was going to. Have y'all started watching the Dahmer series?
I watched about 3 episodes and then stopped because I don't really like seeing it from the perspective of the person. I really like I like factual true crime.
Me too. I like regular true crime.
I don't really like seeing it from his... I also didn't watch the Ted Bundy movie with Zac Efron because, I don't like anything that in any way, shape, or form portrays him as a person.
Yeah, or hot, which is ridiculous.
I will say that is no reflection on Evan Peters. He's a fantastic Dahmer. He's a great actor.
Wait, babe.
But it made me really uncomfortable to watch.
Did you just say Evan Peters as Jeffrey Dahmer is hot?
No.
Okay.
Zac Efron.
I was saying just making serial
Bundy
killers
isn't
hot is kind of ridiculous to me.
Yeah.
But no, we started watching it last night. We only watched the first episode because that's all I could stomach. But I'm a horror movie. We just talked about the con and everything that I go to. I love horror. Something about describing torsos in a vat of acid and actually seeing it all. I just saying it just now, it made me lightheaded. I don't know why I could not handle that, but I think I'm getting old or something.
Yeah.
And I was one episode a night's all I'm going to be able to handle this show.
Yeah, well, I don't know, because even that kind of stuff doesn't bother me, hearing the details of it. But I don't know. Once you've done so many horrible things, I feel like you lose your rights to be a person anymore.
Yeah.
And you should be just a story. That's all you deserve.
So don't humanize him.
Yeah, I don't like any humanization of, oh, well, his dad did taxidermy with him and his mom was really bad. I don't care. I'm sorry. You're right. That's wrong. And if that contributed to who he became, that's horrible. And I hope that on nobody. But he's still a trash human being and we shouldn't talk about him like that anymore.
Yeah.
I do like that so many people are now aware that Jeffrey Dahmer was a thing and what he did to people, because I'm shocked at how many people just have never heard of him.
Yeah, well, I'd heard of him, obviously, he's famous, but until it came out, I had never actually read much about it, and I looked him up while we were watching the first episode and was like, oh, I had no idea the demographic of people he went after or how many, anything like that. I just knew he was
a serial killer.
Yeah, that's all I knew about him, so that was more interesting than I thought.
Yeah, definitely.
And I love Niecy Nash, so I was excited to see her. But other than that, I don't think I'm going to be a big fan of it.
Fair. Yeah, definitely nightmare-inducing. Yeah, not my vibe of a show. I'll stick to, documentaries, I guess, about him.
Or true crime podcasts.
That's always fun.
What about you guys? Boys?
I have a sick mind because I kind of liked it.
Yeah.
I want to watch it.
I didn't watch any of it.
It's cinematically really pretty. They did cool shots and everything.
Yeah, it's filmed very, very well.
I will say I like it knowing that it is fiction in the sense of you're seeing it through his point of view. If that makes sense at all.
Apparently it's pretty accurate though, which is to just his crimes in general.
Yeah, well, I know a big part of it too that people were upset about was like how they didn't really address it with the victims' families, and they're getting re-traumatized with some really intense details about what happened to their loved ones, and that's really hard for a lot of people.
Yeah, it probably would have been better if it was more of like a generalization of what he did, if they were going to use him as an inspiration for like a horror movie, rather than very specific details of what he did to people's family members.
Yeah, because I mean, like, you see a lot of things, especially that get pulled into horror movies. Like, you have like people like John Wayne Gacy, and then you have the movies It, which obviously have a killer clown, and that was inspired by John Wayne Gacy's crimes. And that sort of thing, I think, is fine.
Yeah.
You pull a work of fiction out of something that really happened, but yeah, just dramatizing things that happen to real people in that way is really, really hard to watch. And I'm fine with like the themes of like the obvious racism by the cops, of like not really paying attention to the neighbor because she was a black woman, and really not taking what she said into consideration because of that, versus like them being weirded out because he was like, oh yeah, that's my boyfriend, and so like, okay, get away from us.
Yeah.
Like, I appreciate that they pulled in those themes because we're in a very woke generation at this point, but I still don't. The whole thing kind of grosses me out.
Yeah, it was icky feeling. The whole thing was pretty icky.
Which I feel like is kind of like a good thing that it is. That means it's good. It's just not something I want to watch.
It's also like really drawn out, like that whole first scene with him getting the guy in his apartment, and then like, just watching the movie and taking the pictures and everything. Like, I feel like now that I'm an adult and I understand fear a little bit more than I did as like a teenager watching scary stuff like that, just the idea of feeling that afraid and being trapped makes me way more uncomfortable than actually like the gore or the story or anything. Like, just putting myself in the
absolutely
mental place, I like start to get that icky anxiety feeling. Like, what would I do?
Yeah, the opening scene of him being like, oh yeah, let's go to bed, I'll dance for you, like trying to set up some kind of role play,
desperate to get out. Yeah.
And like, but seeing like, and the actor for that was very good at, like, the fear in his eyes felt very real.
It did.
And it was that, what can I say in this moment, go along with what he wants until I can get away. And like, that's such a real theme that you see in true crime, and like you hear from survival stories and stuff, and that was probably a big reason that I was like, I don't know if I can watch this.
It got rough.
Yeah. No, scary.
We also were watching The Big Bang Theory, and me and Ryan both cried at Sheldon's wedding.
Yeah.
On a lighter note.
Never watched The Big Bang Theory.
Oh, it's so good. You'd probably like it.
Probably.
Bazinga.
It seems like something y'all would like.
I've been rewatching The Walking Dead because I never watched past, like, when they got to whatever. Not like the city with the governor, but like the other city that was supposed to be like good, but everybody like was cannibals.
I've only watched the first season because I hated that show.
I don't blame you.
It was really good at first, like so good, and then it got so repetitive. Like, just, all right, we've moved on to another location, and now someone that shouldn't be in love with someone's in love, and someone dies, and the zombies are here. Oh no. And then it's like, oh, we found people we can trust. Never mind, we can't trust. Like, every episode seemed like the same thing to me, and I just got like, all right.
I mean, yeah, I guess it's just kind of the zombie trope.
Yeah.
And it was like at a time when zombie tropes were, like, zombies were the new vampires.
Yeah.
But it was really funny watching the first season over again. I'm like, oh, hey, I know where that was filmed. Like, seeing so much of it, and you're like, I could drive there tomorrow.
Yeah. Speaking of vampires, Team Edward, by the way. All the way.
Ew.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm
not
Team Jacob.
I'm not Team Jacob. I'm Team movie.
But if you had to pick,
I'm team that movie.
Not Edward, because he's a stalker.
I feel like Jacob's the creepier one.
Jacob, I think they're both really
He's much
creepy. I don't like any of them.
But yeah, he's like the whole time like, why don't you just love me? And she's like, I'm not attracted to you. And he's like, get over it. Like, love me.
Yeah, no.
Which in the book she was attracted to him. Let's be
Oh,
real.
no,
but
absolutely.
in the movies they made it out like she wasn't.
Jacob
Yeah.
reminds me of a lot of our friends.
Yeah. He's kind of an incel.
Damn.
Ouch. Yeah, no, definitely. No, I was a Team Jasper person.
Yes, he was the hottest one.
Yeah, and then in the movie they made him a freak.
Yeah, he was still the hottest one in the movie.
No, he wasn't.
Yeah,
he was
He was hot.
with bad hair.
Yeah, it was all like
Alice-
scraggly, like punk rock. Though.
No, Alice. No, it was not.
I liked it.
He looked like an edgy 14-year-old named Dorian. No, that wasn't even named Dorian. That wanted to be named Dorian. That's what he looked like. No, let's be real. Alice was the hottest person in that show.
She was very pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
She
wanted
was great.
my hair like hers after I saw it.
I did have my hair like hers for a little bit.
Fun fact, Dorian is a mode of the major scale.
Fun fact, Dorian is from an old book.
Dorian's
About a
also a
painting.
mode of the major scale.
My first thought was Dorian Halford
Dorian
from
Gray.
Throne of Glass.
You know, it's yes, but also my friend and I have this joke because she has a few trans friends, but we were just kind of joking about like how like a lot of the trans men that we know kind of go through like different name phases until they kind of like get where they feel like their identity is. But we feel like a lot of people either go Sebastian, Dorian, or Elliot. Like are
It's
all
weird
like
because I
kind
do
of
know a transgender person named Sebastian.
See,
Yeah.
she does too. And yeah, like it's kind of like those are kind of the three popular like name phases
That's so
before they
weird.
kind of like settle on something different.
Weird.
I know, I just thought it was funny. And I'm like, I guess I kind of get it because it's not a super common name, but it's also not a weird name. But yeah, I just thought that was funny because that's all I can think of now anytime I hear the name Dorian.
Well, on to the topic of the night. We got really off track.
Yeah, we did.
So, the team sent me their dreams, and I did my best to decipher them. And then I'm going to read you guys a couple of mine, and you guys can weigh in on what you think they mean after I kind of describe some dream meaning stuff. And I know a lot of dream meaning stuff, and it varies depending on who you're asking. So, like, take everything I say with a grain of salt. This could mean nothing, and I genuinely believe, for the most part, that dreams are just a collection of things you've seen throughout the last week or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
If you watched a scary movie, you might have a scary dream. Like, I don't necessarily think that they always mean something.
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes they do, for sure, because it is your subconscious, your own brain. So,
Quick podcast idea. We'll all submit our dreams to you, and you read them out loud, and you don't say whose they are, and we'll all have to guess whose dream that was.
well, you got to start having more dreams. Maybe we should get you some, like, melatonin.
I'll just start making stuff up.
Yeah, maybe the issue is that I was the first person to submit a dream and I had two, and everybody else was like, I don't know, I don't really have dreams.
I
really
have
don't.
enough to cover, like, all of y'all because I have so many dreams and I
I
write them all
don't.
down.
The dream I gave her, like, that's for literally the first dream I remember in like 15 years.
That's insane.
I
mean,
don't
literally
remember
me too,
dreams.
though. Like, the one I gave you, I was probably like 14.
Is this an estrogen thing or something?
I don't know, maybe. I also don't dream a lot, though.
Yeah.
Normally, and I know there's, like, a really big thing about, like, you dream a lot, you just don't remember it.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's some amount of, like, practicing lucidity or whatever that may go into that, but yeah, I don't dream a lot.
That's true
So
because,
those are just two I really vividly remember waking up and having feelings about.
well, reviewing my dreams for this podcast, I keep a Word document on my phone of them.
Mm-hmm.
And most of them, I have no recollection of dreaming. But I wake up and before my eyes are even all the way open, I type them out. It's like an automatic thing that I've been doing for years, and it helps you dream more and remember your dreams more. And, you know, then I have a record of them for things like this, or just to read out because they're insane. Okay, so we'll just start with Alicia because she's on top. So Alicia sent me 2 dreams.
Power top.
Do you want to read your dream out to us, or do you want me to read it?
I can explain what they were, or you just want to do the first one?
Yeah, just go ahead and explain it. That works. The first
Okay.
one you sent me.
The first one, this is the only dream I remember from, like, my really young childhood, and it sounds really weird because it is really weird, but I was given some sort of mission to, like, go into this cave and steal, like, a baby mobile from this cave, and the cave was guarded by, like, this massive, like, megalodon-sized great white shark. And, like, I remember, like, swimming in the cave and going and finding the baby mobile and then, like, trying to find my way out. And, like, I don't even remember if I escaped. But just having this fear of the shark. And, like, that's all I remember.
Did you, like, have trouble breathing in it at all? Or were you panicked about not being able to breathe? Or
No, that was the weird thing.
Yeah.
It was, like, it was almost like it wasn't even underwater.
Yeah.
But I had
yeah.
to swim. Like, there wasn't a sense of gravity.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. That's happened to me before in dreams, and sometimes I can't breathe and I freak out, and then sometimes...
Yeah.
And my theory is, like, the sheets over my face or something in
Maybe.
real life when I'm having that. So, okay, so here's what I deciphered from that. So I looked up caves, obviously. So apparently caves represent protection, a passage, or the womb. And then it can also be where it said that caves are where treasure is hidden, but also dragons. Mm-hmm. So it could be that you're going after something good or bad. As far as water, It's generally you dream about water and being underwater if you're like searching for something beneath the surface in life. So basically I put all that together and deciphered it being possibly that you're exploring unknown parts of your brain. It says that if you dream of sharks, that they mirror people that you surround yourself with. So if you dreamt about a shark that was menacing and not a friend, that there's a good chance you had someone in your life that made you feel that way at that time. And then, so my interpretation of it was that you were potentially on a journey to unlock a repressed memory blocked by someone menacing in your life. And because of the mobile, I thought maybe a childhood memory.
Am I going to cry every podcast?
No, don't cry.
I don't like that. Just because, like, as an adult, I know a lot of things that happened to me at that age that I didn't. And, like, I still have some repressed stuff that happened to me when I was a lot younger. And I think I did have that dream around that age.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I don't like that
one bit. That maybe I'm a good dream interpreter because you're reacting that way, but I hate that you're sad about it.
I'm happy for you, but yeah, I don't like that. I don't like how accurate that was for my life at the time.
Wow. Well, I guess I didn't even think about that I used.
Yeah, no, I feel like that's pretty good.
Yeah? Okay, do you want to come back to you and do someone else?
Yeah.
Okay, you need a break?
Yes, I'm going to cry.
No crying, it's okay. It's just a dream. It could just mean that you watch Shark Tales.
Dream. I loved Shark Tales. That was a great movie.
I did too.
I love that movie.
I like Dragon Tales.
Dragon Tales. I don't know the words, but Dragon Tales.
I have a picture.
Come along and take my hand. Sorry.
I have a picture of me and my little brother dressed as Cassie and Ord when we were little
Aww.
kids.
You like the bird, little birdie?
Okay, Eric, you want to describe your first one?
Yeah.
Well, hey, buddy.
So, like I said earlier, I was probably 14 at the time, and World of Warcraft, I think, had been out maybe a year at this point.
Nerd.
Okay. I was literally in Nebraska as a 14-year-old, and there was nothing else to do.
Yeah,
there's corn.
There was corn.
It's corn.
But yeah.
Oh, wait, so we're all going to dress up for corn for Halloween, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay, cool. We should all go get costumes and wear them on the podcast, and that's the first one we
Jump
film.
on a trampoline and be popcorn.
Is we're all...
I'm gonna dress up as a member of Korn.
Oh, my God. You should, amongst all of us that are corn. That'd be hilarious.
That would be
no,
really funny.
We should all get the corn costume, but then do the face paint.
Corn makeup and carry guitars.
Get dreads.
Anyway, Eric's dream. We just cut him off to talk about corn.
No, it's okay.
Nebraska once.
You can't mention corn with this group and expect anything else to happen.
It's because we're all really corny.
Yeah.
Roll for funny.
Gladly. 4.
Not
funny.
Okay. It had been out for maybe a year now. And I very vividly remember this. It's honestly like one of my one of 2 dreams I've ever remembered in my life, especially from my childhood. They have these things called Wind Riders. You take them from place to place because there's no fast travel or teleporting in the game. Or at least at that time there wasn't. Not really anyways. But you get on and you fly. And in my dream, I was on one flying to a specific area in the game.
Was it scary?
No.
No? Did you get that stomach dropping feeling though?
No, it was awesome.
Just fun?
Yeah, it was really cool.
So, flying in dreams is apparently highly symbolic, and it represents personal freedom and self-control. So, it says that abilities that you don't have or didn't know that you have may be coming to light when you have a dream about flying. Mm-hmm. So you might have been discovering a talent or a skill that you had, or starting a new job that you're doing really well at during that time in your life. Basically look what you're capable of because you're flying when you really can't fly. And it said that it can mean that you're close to conquering fears or you're starting a new relationship, which could be a romantic or a friendship.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does any of that apply to that time of your life, you think?
Not really.
14?
I was 14 years old.
I feel like you're doing a lot of self-discovery at 14.
Well, hang on. What about your Nebraska friends?
A lot of self-discovery.
What about them?
Isn't your best group of friends from when you lived in Nebraska?
Yeah.
And we just talked about symbolic of relationships, either romantic or Just platonic?
Oh, yeah, I guess so, yeah. That does make sense.
Or it could just be that you played that video game a lot.
That
I did play that video game a lot.
All right, so let's do Ryan's, because he only gave me one, and it's short. Ryan.
Catch me in a dream. How about that?
Tell us your dream, babe.
I don't remember a lot of it, but I remember I was dating Bad Baby, Danielle Bergoli, for those that are cultured. Oh. And I introduced her to my parents, and she was exactly how you remember her to my parents. And I remember even in my dream just being disappointed and like, why are you like this?
Did she catch your parents outside?
I just remember like sitting in my parents' living room. You've been there multiple times, and she's just sitting in the rocking chair, just like talking to my dad.
That's where I always sit.
Yeah.
I think you were imagining me as...
And I'm just like, oh my God.
Oh, man. Okay, so yours was not as detailed, and it's very specifically this person, so it was really hard to decipher. But I found out if you dream about a celebrity, it can represent your desire to be noticed if you're not feeling appreciated or noticed in life at the time. And it can be an image of qualities within you or what you want to become. And dating her can represent your desire to merge the opposite side of yourself with yourself and become more of like a less one-sided person. So like, while you might think she's being kind of dumb and obnoxious and you're not that way, you might kind of desire to be a little dumb and obnoxious sometimes.
I feel like I'm pretty dumb and obnoxious.
Nah, I don't think you're dumb and obnoxious most of the time. I think that's something that's kind of new to you, for me anyway.
I don't think dumb and obnoxious, but I do think in the past year I've become a lot more confident in myself and like my abilities. And like dumb, being really confident can also be translated into being an idiot, being dumb.
Yeah.
You know? So
like goofy, yeah. So that's all I got for you on that one because there wasn't much.
Do I need to go see Dr. Phil?
You know, I don't think so.
All right.
I think that since she's crazy and you're sane and you're joining the two, apparently, that you're just a normal person now.
Well, I can tell you if it makes you feel better, I did not enjoy dating her.
Yeah, that's good.
It was pretty bad.
That's good.
Bad baby.
I actually have my dream written down that I had that same night in which you also cheated on me. We'll get to that one in a minute. So let's go back to Alicia.
I'm gonna need a...
Sentimental men or woman to pump
I was
me up.
listening to that song on the drive home today. I
love
love that song.
Oh.
I got a song to share with you guys when we get done with the Dreamcast. I
Okay.
came up with it this morning.
No crying, Alicia.
I'm really...
Yours are kind of deep. Your dreams are pretty symbolic compared to everybody else's.
I'm a very introspective person.
Yeah.
Like, that's the reason I'm convinced, or that I refuse to go to therapy. Because I'm like, don't tell me all this shit. No, tell me how to fix it. Give me... I already know what's wrong with me and why, because I think about it too much. Give me the solution.
Yeah, that's why I needed to find a new therapist and haven't yet, but I quit therapy because she just, like... would be like, yeah, it sounds like you've got a really good grasp on what to do. Like, yeah, but it's not helping.
Yeah, I'm like, look, I need help. Yeah. There's a lot of that. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I just need a pill at this point because, like, obviously I've worked through it. I've thought about it.
And I'm still like this.
And I'm still not quite there.
Yeah.
Okay. This is the one I'm honestly more worried about because I had this one when I was a teenager and I was a bit more developed.
Well, this is a positive interpretation.
That's exciting.
Yeah. And I was really surprised reading it because I was like, Alicia, like, this is going to be really bad. But all the symbolism in it is really positive, which is really weird to me.
Okay,
I did not expect that.
I will feel less bad telling this one now because it's always made me feel really guilty thinking about this dream, even knowing it was just a dream. But anyways, and this was probably a dream that I had probably about the time The Walking Dead was out on TV for, like, within the first couple seasons, so, like, definitely in high school.
So this was definitely triggered by pop culture.
Yeah, probably, at least the themes of it. And I've had other zombie-related dreams, but nothing this intense. But I very distinctly remember we were at my house out on the highway that I lived in as a kid. Mm-hmm. And my mom, just as a little bit of backstory, my mom used to be, like, a couponer. So we had a room that was mostly just shelves with extra stuff. Couponing's cool. Shout out to super couponers. But so that room was kind of a little bit bare bones. Like, I think we took the carpet out of it too because it was just like really gross after living there for 10 years. So it was like plywood floors and shelves of goods on the second floor of like this house. But I distinctly remember that basically there was a zombie outbreak and like we were like gearing up and getting all of our stuff to leave. And like they'd gotten into the house and my dad and I like jumped out, like opened the window, jumped off to the ground and like made it to these trees we had in our front yard because we had like this little group of 3 trees and there was like nothing else around. And we climbed up the trees to get away from the zombies until there was like a few of them had gone away. And while we were in this tree, my dad told me that my mom and my brother weren't going to make it. And we were going to have to accept that really fast and move on because that was going to be the only way to survive. And I feel so guilty about that because I love my mom and my brother. But I don't know. And it's probably... I'll save my own introspection for it after you tell me your interpretation.
Yeah, because I'm interested to know what your... Okay, well, no, actually, what is your...
So one of the things is that at the time, my dad was taking me to the range all the time. So we were spending a lot of time together. And we were not particularly close when I was a teenager. It was more just like, he was like, you need to know how to use a gun and defend yourself.
Yeah.
And so it was a lot of resentful having to spend time together. But then also having some level of confidence in myself that I'm like, oh yeah, I know how to use a weapon. I'm, you know, a somewhat healthy teenager. Like, I could survive. I can do this. I think my dad can too, because he's like, you know, crusty old Marine kind of type. And my mom's like, kind of a homemaker, and my brother was like, he was younger than 10 at the time, so yeah.
So your interpretation's actually really close to the real interpretation. So the interpretation that I got, so any zombie dreams, apparently zombies almost always represent change. Not in a negative way, positive change. And trees obviously are an ancient symbol of life, and climbing a tree always represents a positive omen. So, since the trees could represent your life and zombies represent change, you leaving your family to die could mean that an old part of your family has died and you can all move on now, because, believe it or not, death is always represented as a positive omen in dreams, even if it's a scary dream. So, it sounds like, now that you've given me that information, that maybe you were, like, bonding with your dad, and the family dynamic was changing a little bit because of that. And that might have been where that dream came from. Pretty close.
I'll disagree with it, but that is really interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting how, like, definitely you're, like, describing a change you're going through in your life, and it's like, zombies are change! Because I didn't know all that part when I interpreted it, so...
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's just... Yeah, it was probably a weird time in my life.
Yeah.
I feel like that was probably, like, the last couple of years of high school, too, so I was, like...
Yeah,
thinking
that's
about
a weird time.
Thinking about joining the Army, and, like, because I signed up when I was 17... So I would have had to take my ASVAB the year before. So, yeah, there was a lot going on around then. Like, being the older kid, too, and having to leave. And, like, my parents gearing up for all of that. And little did I know, too, at the time, my parents were having a lot of financial troubles. And basically, as soon as I left, their house got foreclosed on and they moved.
Oh, wow.
And they didn't tell me until I came home for Christmas. Because they didn't want me worrying.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of, like, low-key traumatic that happened.
Yeah.
I was like, why didn't y'all just tell me?
Well, I'm glad you're doing so good on your own now.
Thanks. And I mean, and they're in a lot better place, too.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, sophomore year, they told me that they might lose the house.
Well, that was also right during the recession, too, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My parents were like, what the heck are we going to do to get out of our house? Because we were trying to sell it and move, and And,
well, like, my mom actually worked... not fully in the housing industry, but, like, she was a title researcher kind of person. So, and she owned her own company at the time. And so when the housing market crashed, she lost her company. And I know that was really, really hard. And so that's part of why she became a stay-at-home mom for a while, was dealing with her own mental health around those kind of things. But yeah, then, so that would have been about 2010 when... they told me that, like, we might lose the house, and they basically just held on until I could get out of high school.
Goodness.
Yeah.
That's awesome that they were able to do that for you, though.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That they're able to hold on long enough for you to at least get out of high school and, like, hit adulthood.
Make some life decisions.
Yeah, they tried really hard. And, I mean, I guess it's kind of interesting because I just gone to basic training. And I wasn't even in my first unit yet. I was still, like, in school in the Army. And I got to come home for Christmas. And basically the week before, they were like, hey, by the way, we don't live there anymore. And now they live in the same neighborhood I live in, and this is where they've been since then. But yeah, I had no idea, and I was like, I knew money was bad and life like hard, and they always did their best for us. But even though they clued me in a little bit, they never let me know how bad it was.
Yeah.
Which on one hand, probably even now I still resent a little bit because I'm like, I just wish I knew.
Yeah.
What was so stressful. Or like maybe I could have maybe not been. But at the same time,
they probably knew you were going through a lot.
Sure, but also maybe I wouldn't have been such a fuck asshole as a kid because I was a really annoying teenager. Hindsight. Maybe I could have been, a bit more forgiving as a teenager to them.
Yeah.
Versus where I am now, and I'm like, I didn't help the situation. But yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah. All right, Eric. This one's interesting because there wasn't a lot of.
It's not
there
really
wasn't
a dream.
Really a dream, yeah, but I did do a little bit of research on the topic. So go ahead and tell us, and then.
So this isn't really a dream. This is like just the second thing I can remember of something similar. Because that one, my first dream, the first thing was my actual dream. This is the time I encountered what most people, I guess, would call like a sleep paralysis demon.
I don't think you've even told me this.
I don't normally think about it.
Huh.
It's only happened once.
Interesting. Okay,
Yeah,
go ahead.
Which is weird because for most people it's a repetitive thing.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah, it's only once, and it's a very vivid like memory, and the feeling and everything is like very vivid. Because I was, I think, 17 at the time, 17 or 18, and I was still living in Arizona at the time, and I remember, and what's even weirder is I was flipped around on my bed, right? So where my head normally would lay was not there. It was on the other end. So like I'm staring up at this, like the way I described it to you is like this 2D, like flat, black-eyed, like what would be the equivalent of sharp teeth, but like a flat. So like the triangle, like sharp teeth.
Yeah.
Thing like wreathed in like black flame. And it's just like staring at me and I can't move. And I like just sitting there staring at it. It's not saying anything, not making noise, not looking around, just staring straight at me. And I can't move. I can't do anything. I'm just laying there. And that went on for, I don't know how long.
How old were you?
Like 17.
Okay.
Was it frightening? Because some people say it's like calm when they see it.
No, I was scared.
You were scared?
Yeah, I was like, why the f*** did I move?
Yeah. Okay, so what I did as far as reading into it was, so first of all, seeing what you described as a very common sleep hallucination. Mm-hmm. Some kind of smoky black figure over you is one of the most common ones. And then they say if you're laying on your stomach, the feeling of a witch sitting on your back is a common one.
Interesting.
Like a cackling witch is apparently pretty common, which is crazy. In the Middle East, they refer to it as jinn. I assume that's how it's pronounced. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, I don't like even more.
Genies.
I don't like that even more now because... yeah. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
It was an omen. So, and that's partially why they wear the evil eye, is to protect from sleep paralysis demons that they see as genies, evil genies. So the only kind of like interpretation I got for it was that it says online that if you see a sleep paralysis demon or any kind of like repetitive demon in your dreams, that generally it's a demon in real life, like something that you're struggling with, and that once you handle that situation, a lot of the time it will go away in your sleep. So if it was like a really, really ugly friendship, an abusive relationship, an addiction, something like that, and you were to get over it, that it's a manifestation of a demon you're facing in real life, basically. So, I don't know what that means to you, but that's all the research that I did on it.
I have a weird question. Was this before or after your lung popped?
That's what I don't know. honestly.
Is that what you're thinking of too?
Yeah, because it was 2 weeks before my 18th birthday is when I had my lung surgery.
But you don't know how much earlier before that was. Mm-hmm. Interesting.
I want to say before.
I wonder then if that was some kind of omen, basically, that your body was trying to tell you.
No, it was definitely before.
Yeah.
Definitely before, because that dream happened in the second house I lived in whenever I was in Arizona, because I had an upstairs bedroom, and I still very vividly remember that bedroom in that particular situation. My lung collapsed at the first house, because I remember we went house hunting the day we found out.
Oh, yeah, you described that, yeah.
So, no, it was the second house. My lung had already collapsed. I don't know of anything that would have happened like that at that point, other than maybe finding out that I can't join the Army and I have to wait 3 years. Yeah. And that being really irritating and upsetting for me.
Okay.
Or another, like, I guess life event that happened at around that. So this would have had to have been when I was 18 or 19 at this point, which would have meant that Stephanie had already joined the Army, and she didn't make it all the way through AIT.
Who's Stephanie?
My sister.
Okay.
Sorry. She didn't make it all the way through AIT because her hip literally cracked in half. So she has a 6-inch bolt in her hip, has had since she was 19. And so she was dealing with that whole thing, and that was really upsetting.
Gosh. Well, it sounds like you had a lot of stuff going on.
Maybe.
That's why. Maybe it was just a manifestation of stress in general.
Yeah.
I had a sleep. I don't know what this would be called because I moved. I got up. But I had a sleep hallucination, I guess. Or there was something in my room. One of the two when I was a young child. But I remember and my mom remembers this, which is the freakier part because I asked her about it later and she was like, no, I distinctly remember this. But I woke up and I turned over in bed and I saw what I thought was a giant bowling pin in the middle of my room. All the way to the ceiling, giant bowling pin.
That's
and
very
when
specific.
I blinked really hard and took a closer look at it and realized it was a glowing alien, basically. That was the height of my ceiling. It was standing in my closet doorway.
So it had to be 8 to 10 feet.
Oh, yeah. Definitely at least 8 foot tall. Probably about 8 foot tall. And because it hit right at the top of the door. So if it was standing right there, it'd be hitting right at the top of the door. Hell no. And it had human eyes, very human, regular eyes, and no other features whatsoever. Just a glowing humanoid shape. And it was wearing a white t-shirt, just a typical human white t-shirt.
Yep, and my white tee.
Yeah. And it just it was kind of swaying a little bit. I could tell it was animated, it was moving, and it just stared at me with human eyes and this it was weird because it was glowing, but it wasn't producing any light.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? It was definitely a source of light, but it's no light was being put out into the room in any way. And I got up and ran out of my room into my mom's room. I think I was 7 or 8 when this happened. Ran into my mom's room. I distinctly remember they had a water bed at the time. And I was tapping on it to make it wave and wake them up.
Yep.
And she woke up and told me it was just a dream and to go back to bed. And I walked back in my room slowly and looked around and it was gone. So I laid down in bed and stared at the closet, laying on my side because I was terrified that it was going to be in my closet again. And when I was finally, after an hour, sufficiently felt okay, it's gone, I turned over to face away, and it was laying next to me in bed.
Oh, hell no.
As soon as I made eye contact with it, this, vortex opened where its mouth would be, and it let out this horrible screeching sound, and I blacked out. I woke up the next morning. And it's such a distinct memory for me as a child, because I got up and asked my mom if I was dreaming or if I actually came into her room. And she said I actually came into her room and woke her up and described to her what I saw in my closet. Mm-hmm. And that she sent me back to bed. And that made it way too real for me, and it really freaked me out. And to this day, she's like, no, I remember when you came in there and described that because it was freaky.
Okay, I'm going to take this a lighter route.
Yeah.
Because, we've talked about, ghosts and stuff before, and that you don't necessarily believe in ghosts, which is funny because you're definitely the woo-woo girl in this
I know.
I absolutely believe in ghosts, and I've said before that's why I'm not an atheist, is because I believe in ghosts. Mm-hmm. So like I like there's something else out there.
Yeah.
Even though I'm never gonna say I know what it is, but I remember as a kid we had this cat. Her name was Purr. She was black and white, real sweet. My mom's like loved this fucking cat. And the cat got killed by a couple of like dogs that ran around the neighborhood, a couple really aggressive dogs. And I remember shortly after the cat getting killed, waking up in bed one night, and I had to be like 8, maybe younger even. But yeah, I remember waking up and like I was like sleeping on my back and waking up, and there was a completely black figure, but almost with like a glowing aura around it, of a cat sitting on my chest.
Weird.
It was really weird, and my brain was like, "That's Purr." Even though I knew Purr was dead, Purr wasn't around anymore, but I knew that was Purr. And like I remember like kind of trying to pick my head up and like to go pet her, and like the figure of the cat getting up and jumping off the bed and disappearing, like before it even hit the ground.
Weird.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool though. Like, was it like scary, or were you just like,
no,
oh, hey, cat?
I was like, that's Purr. That's my cat. That's my childhood cat. Which is funny because I had another experience when I was older, and my childhood dog got put down because she was very old and she had cancer. So my parents put her down because she just wasn't really living the best quality of life. And I remember being woken up because I felt like a dog was panting in my face. And I was like, that's Jenny. And Jenny was dead.
I have a couple animal haunting stories, too, from my old house.
Interesting.
2 of them. Any of my friends that stayed the night said that and we had a dog that got hit by a school bus in front of our house. That was our dog, Buddy. And, or Bud was his name. Yeah, and funny enough, he was a black dog, too.
Oh my God,
dog.
it was funny because since we're not recording, my black lab dog is literally sleeping on the floor right next to us, and his name is Buddy.
My black lab dog.
Yeah, he was a black lab mix, though.
This one.
Named Bud. So that's funny. But yeah, he got hit by a school bus in front of the house, and it was really sad. Like, he was such a good dog. But anyway, anytime any of my friends stayed the night, we had wood floors, and they'd like get up to go pee in the middle of the night, and every time they came back to the room, and it was not just one friend, every friend said that they could hear little like claw tippy taps behind them, like a little dog was following them to the room every time in our hallway. And then another time, me and my mom were sitting in the living room late at night watching TV, and the dog door just opened up by itself to the inside, held open for a minute, and then swung back shut.
That's weird.
That was scary. Because we were like, is someone trying? But like, nothing was holding it up. It just came up.
That's interesting.
So yeah, we've had a couple like weird dog haunted pet, but in like it wasn't scary ever. Like it was never like a scary feeling.
Yeah. Mine I always felt like, because they never recurred. It was always a one-time thing that happened. I always kind of felt like it was them saying bye.
Yeah. Like, I'm going over the Rainbow Bridge now, Mom. Bye. Yeah. Do you have any haunted pet stories, babe? Before I move on to dreams?
No, I'm sorry. I don't have, like...
What about you, Eric?
Nope.
Okay, so I'll just read y'all a couple of mine, because they're long. Well, not all of them are long, but some of them are pretty long. And some of them I didn't finish. Like, this just says dream. It says... Man was using a handmade prison, and I got out. Like, where you can tell I'm writing these when I am, like, my eyes normally aren't even open.
Yeah, you're not even really coherent.
Yeah, and that's the best way to do it, though, if you want to remember your dreams, is just type them as soon as you're conscious. So, these ones, here's a little collection of short ones that aren't really, like, meaningful or anything. I dreamt that I was performing heart surgery on Call Me Chris from TikTok just for fun. I don't know.
Oh my God!
Then the next night, I dreamt that we took a trip to Washington, D.C. I needed to use the bathroom, and we stopped at a rest stop where there was hundreds of zombie-like stupid people living out of their cars, and one of them kept screaming and slamming their phones. There was like a big phone bank, and they were all slamming the phones over and over. And my mom had to make a call. Was waiting in line, acting like nothing was wrong, and I asked, what the f***? And she said, that's just how the people of Washington, D.C. are, Grayson.
I was just gonna say, apparently you have an issue with hobos.
I know.
I love it. It's like zombie, like stupid people.
Yeah, that's what I wrote. So
That's amazing.
I don't remember having that dream at all, but I wrote it down as a dream that I had the next night. And then the very next night, I dreamt that me and my friends it was people that I knew were my friends, but I don't actually recognize them. We're doing a Wim Hof jump into a frozen lake, and for some reason, I was pouring Rachel Ray canned cat food into the water.
What?
Yeah. So they're very specific.
I love that there was a brand of the cat food.
Yeah.
Specifically Rachel Ray.
Rachel Ray's canned food in particular.
In the lake with you.
Yep. So this one's a little bit longer, but I can read it fast. I was in high school and I walked into the gym locker room after PE. No one else was there. I felt a weird urge to look out the window. There was a boy there looking back at me right up against the window, and his eyes were like clear glass marbles. I got scared and slammed the window shut. When I got home, my mom informed me that our house had been robbed and I had to pick through the damaged things I wanted to keep. I picked a rainbow-colored crochet doll blanket. I go back to school and decide to see if I can find the glass-eyed boy, who I already knew in my mind was an alien. I went back to the locker room, and I wasn't supposed to be in there, so I hid in a locker. And I heard someone come in, and as soon as he entered the room, he said, "I know you're in here, Grayson, come out." So I did, and it was the alien guy. He was friendly and said yes, he was an alien, and showed me his eyes and how he could turn them to look just like mine as a disguise. We got in the school bus together, and the driver said that riots were happening, so keep your heads down and stay calm, and they'll get us home. When I looked out the window of the bus, I noticed all the rioters were dressed in terrifying, bloody horror movie clown costumes, and the alien said, "I'm sorry, this is all my fault," and then I woke up.
We'll interpret that one for us, Mrs. Interpreter.
No, I want y'all to interpret it.
I think you did acid that night.
No.
I feel like you got a lot to unpack
That's a
in your
typical
noggin.
dream for me. Like, I have dreams like that at least once a week.
That is insane.
Yeah, and they're never like the same thing. And they're vivid. Like, obviously, I can write down all the details and stuff.
Yeah, that's so specific. I can't even imagine having, like, I mean, like, I remember, like, this, like, screens or, like, stills in my brain of, like, what happened in my dreams. Like, I can't, like, that's like a movie.
Yeah. A lot of the time, mine are like that, and I'm saving the movie dream for the end, because there is a movie dream.
Is it the one where Ryan cheated on you?
No. These are all really short. So this one, I called it the shipping container dream. This was just last year. I dreamt that me and my family and everyone on Earth were forced to live in old, empty shipping containers. And late on a rainy, cloudy night, a giant claw machine came out of the sky and grabbed our shipping container while we were in it and moved it onto a stack of hundreds of other shipping containers super high in the sky where you couldn't see the ground. And all you could see as far off in the distance as you could was stacks of shipping containers that people were living in.
Did you watch Ready Player One that night?
That sounds like almost like some Matrix type shit, too.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
The claw.
This is super short. I dreamt that I was house sitting in someone's trailer and it was all funky and 80s style and cool. And the windows were shaped like the number 87. I got to go-kart riding with a transvestite and kept hearing a rattlesnake. I'm
really thrown off by the windows of all things.
It sticks out to me because
it was
even
the windows?
Even the blinds were shaped like an 87, and you could like close them and open them.
That's
I
so weird.
Remember that dream?
Well, and then what's funny is because obviously transvestite is an outdated word, but the only thing I think of is Rocky Horror.
Yeah, it was like that style of.
You're just hanging out with fucking Ferder.
Basically, yeah, we went on a go-kart together.
That's funny.
And I kept hearing a rattlesnake like. In
Yeah.
the background the whole time. I don't know what that was all about.
I was probably cooking bacon while you were sleeping.
Oh, I had a backrooms dream.
A what?
Have y'all ever heard of backrooms where like it's a dream horror thing where like you go into like the storage room of a grocery store or something and it's just like room after room after room and you get lost in it and you can never find your way out and it's just empty like beige colored rooms.
I've never heard of
No.
this.
It's horrifying.
I don't like
and then you start
that.
seeing creepy stuff in the corners of the rooms and stuff, and they're just endless. Which I got out in mine, but it was definitely at back rooms. So this is also short. It just looks long because it's written in huge text. I had a dream that I was at McDonald's with my brother and grandparents, and they kept messing up all the food and were super rude, and I politely said something about it, and my grandma made me feel like an asshole and then wouldn't shut up about it, so I threw my drink on the ground and walked out the door, but it led to this maze of other doors, and I couldn't quite figure out how to leave the building, but there was some kind of giant event going on in one of the rooms that I decided to go to. I ended up outside after a while, and this guy was sitting out there. So I went and sat with him, and the guy leaned across me to reach for something and had a heart-on. That he was obviously trying to show off to me, and it touched me, and I flipped out and screamed at him. And he was like, whatever, you're not even attractive, and left. And then my friend came and picked me up, and we were driving around Fayetteville having a good time when riots broke out. Another riot dream. I have a lot of riot dreams.
I'm just caught up on the misogyny in your own dream. I mean, like, whatever, you're not hot anyway.
Then riots broke out, and we had to duck into the floorboard and try to drive home. When we got home, the floor was covered in water, and there were alligators living in it that would try to bite us. One started fighting with a dog, and I threw a toy at them so they'd stop, ?
Apparently that's when you started to wake up, and you're like, where's the sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Yep, I have a couple more on here that aren't as interesting, but I'll tell y'all the movie one unless anyone wants to interpret any of that. Or has any comment.
I don't even have any clue what's going on in your brain.
I wish I had dreams like that.
They're honestly very entertaining. And I know I got a good night's sleep when I have a dream like that, because I always wake up in the morning and I just want to go back to sleep and get back into it.
Yeah.
Like the riot ones are a little scary because I have a lot of dreams about riots happening. Let's read the one real quick if we have time. Of the one where Ryan cheats on me.
Yes, please. That's so funny.
Which one?
Oh my god.
You've told me about like 4 dreams.
Oh, I have this horrible nightmare one. I don't even want to read that because I'm afraid it'll like replay in my head. Okay, this one's a little bit long. Okay, I dreamt that me and my parents and Felicia and I think Ryan were all on a boat of some kind. This was this year, by the way. I fell off the boat several times and there were floaters tied off to it that I'd used to climb back on, and there were massive sharks and whales all around us. At some point, we jumped to being at my parents' house. Everything's a mess. I have a bunch of friends over, Felicia and her kids. There's so many people over that we're all having to sleep on the floor. Felicia invites some dude over and is flirting with him and tells me about it the next day, and I'm shocked because her kids are there. We all decided to go on a camping trip the next day, and we had to pack, and I couldn't find anything. Eventually, we head out to camp. We're taking multiple cars because there's so many people. And for some reason, Ryan had to ride with Stone and his ex. I'm going to call her Samantha, even though that's not her real name. Just
Samantha.
Her. Yeah. And I was not happy about it. I rode with my parents. We make it to the campsite, and it's like these massive rock ruins. It looked very much like Mayan ruins, like temples. I remember this dream, like, very vividly. I even wrote that next. They looked like some kind of old Mayan temple or something that formed like a bowl in the middle. My dad was setting up camp, so my mom and I decided to climb it. She was on the opposite side of the bowl than I was. It was heavily trafficked. Tons of huge rocks started to fall, and I'm telling her to watch out. She narrowly misses. Other people seem unfazed, which bothered me a lot. We got to the top, and the wind was so bad, and it was so tall that it felt like it was swaying and I was going to fall. I kept my eyes shut and hold on for dear life, telling my mom I want to get down, but was too scared to move. She told me to calm down and get over it, basically. We spot like 11 tornadoes off on the horizon coming our way and decide camping wouldn't be a good idea. We drove home, and I tried over and over to get in touch with Ryan, but hadn't heard back from him. Hours passed before he finally answers, and I told him I've been calling for hours and that we aren't camping anymore, so please head home. He says that they're already in North Georgia, and that they would just drive to Virginia to visit Chris, a friend of mine that Ryan doesn't even know. I don't know a Chris that lives in Virginia, so I don't know where that came from. And I told him that I really wasn't comfortable with it, especially with Samantha being there, and he just laughed at me and hung up.
11 tornadoes?
Yeah. I said about 11.
That's so specific.
Yeah.
Could have been 13.
It could have been. It could have been 10. I have a lot of tornado dreams, too.
So
It's because they suck.
Was really curious about the riot thing.
Yeah, I have a lot of dreams about riots and having to like hide in the floorboards of cars. Like, or being driving through a riot and having to hide.
Shit.
And apparently a couple of me riding in a car with my ex and like ending up in a different state.
Yeah.
Good job.
I've had a couple of those.
So, the literal first website that came up for dream interpretations says, a riot or rioting in a dream indicates loss of individuality, a breakdown in civility, a dissolving relationship, and at times rage.
Do you want to know what I think it was?
So much. Yeah.
Is that there were a lot of riots going on when I was having the dreams, and they scared me watching the news.
Yeah.
I was going in and out of different cities and like traveling with friends a lot and getting close to them, and it always made me nervous that like our car might get attacked or something. So I think that's literally what it was, because I had a lot of anxiety about that, and it was constantly on the news and Instagram and Twitter and just everywhere. So I think I just saw a lot of it. I don't know why some of the rioters were clowns, but I'm sure there's interpretation for clowns. But
there's interpretation for clowns. Are you kidding?
Okay, so this dream is, to date, not the scary, it wasn't scary at all, but the most lengthy dream I've ever had in my life, and it was the trippiest thing ever to wake up from this and realize that a month of my life had not gone by, because it felt like a full month of my life. Genuine timeline, I lived at least 30 full days, minute to minute, in my sleep, and it was horrifying to wake up and be like, it's been 3 hours.
It's been.
Like, it was the weirdest. That was the weirdest part of all of it. I noticed a lot of my dreams feature Felicia, too, which...
Well, yeah, you
we've
guys
been
have
friends
around
since we
each
were
other.
2, so
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that makes sense. But she's in a lot of my dreams, but she's in this one. So basically, open with... I'm in, like, some kind of, like, Victorian, not even Victorian, further back than Victorian, like, almost like colonial times, old era mystery world that doesn't actually exist, like some kind of video game or something. And I'm this very poor person, and this woman who's not my mom in real life but was my mom in the dream, which is weird because that's never happened either. She was my mom, this older lady.
You have another mother.
Yeah, I was supposed to be taking care of her, and she gave me like I was in this like Victorian garb type, you know, like tattered, you know, like think Les Mis.
Yeah.
Poor people in Les Mis kind of thing. Like, there's rats everywhere. We're in this, like, big city street. What's so funny?
Just my caveman brain. I'm like, less miserables.
Oh. So, she gives me, like, this sack of gold coins, and it's like, I need you to, like, travel through the woods to this next city and buy us somewhere to live because I'm too sick to travel without, like, knowing I have a destination to go to get better afterwards, and it's, like, winter time, whatever. And I'm like, okay. And I like spend like 3 days traveling, camping in the woods. And like, I remember all of it, like finding food, cooking it over a campfire. Like, I remember it raining and just having to sit under a tree because I didn't have a tent or anything. Like this journey through the woods. And I get into this little town, and it's like this more like wealthy but small town. And I end up paying this man and ask him if we can live in his storage shed for the amount of gold I had for like a couple months. And he was like, yeah. And I remember going in there and seeing that there were like holes in the roof and the sun was shining through them and everything. And I was thinking like, I got to patch these before mom gets here. And she's going to be here in like 3 days because she said she was going to leave 3 days after I left or something so that I could guarantee we had a place to stay. And I was like, we're out of money now. That guy took all of our money for this little shed. Like, what am I going to do? So I went to this like prep school, like for rich girls, and lied about who I was. And it was like through the woods, and it was a specific little trail through the woods to this prep school. And I lied about who I was and told them that I was like this wealthy girl from whatever, and asked if I could attend the school, and they just believed me and were like, yeah. And like I would just like secretly steal like the other girls' dresses from their little like closet locker things and like, or their little chests, you know, and like secretly steal their jewelry and go sell it in town. And I bought myself some nice stuff. So I had this like really pretty like Victorian style dress now. It was like a hoop skirt, you know, and I was like living the life and like had all this money. And then because people just believed who I was, they weren't like charging me for anything anymore. They were like, oh, that's so-and-so, whatever. And I knew we weren't going to be able to do it forever. And I want you all to know this story takes a really weird turn in a minute. So my mom gets there and she's like, you know, relaxing and recovering in the house and whatever. Like, it's been like a couple weeks at this point. I've been going to this prep school every day, coming home, making supper, I'm living an actual other person's life. It is bizarre. So one day I'm coming back from my little prep school through the woods and I notice a barn, like an old disheveled barn that I've never noticed before, right off the trail. And I'm like, that's weird. I'm going to go see what's in there. Mm-hmm. And I open it, and it's like a huge high-tech computer lab with like all these scientists and doctors in their white lab coats and like...
Caltech.
like doing all kinds of experiments and typing, and they're like, oh my God, she's here. And they're like, you get back out there and finish your mission. Like, you gotta keep her alive. Like, and I was like, what? And they were like, it'll make sense. Just get out there and like... keep doing what you're doing and, like, don't let him find you.
What kind of sleeper cell bull?
I know. So I'm like, okay, I won't let him find me, whatever that means. And so the whole rest of the walk home, I feel like someone's following me. And I'm, like, getting real freaked out because I feel like someone's following me. And I turn around, and there's this guy in, like, an all-black trench coat and a black ski mask that just, like, darts behind a tree real quick. And I realize he's been following me, and I'm like, what the fuck? And he, like, doesn't fit in with this time period or anything. So I get all freaked out. I go back to the house. I, like, switch into a less obvious dress, you know, and, like, pack up all my stuff. And I'm like, I got to go back to that shed and let them know that, like, I think this is the him they're talking about, and he is following me. I need to let them know. So I walk back through the woods, and I get back to the little shed, and they're like, yeah, he knows you're here. We got to move you to a different timeline. And then, like, once he follows you there, we can distract him there and you can come back and protect your mom. Because you got to keep your mom alive. And I'm like, okay, I know I got to keep my mom alive. They're like, it's really important. You got to keep your mom alive. So they're like, we're going to send you to a different time period. So they send me to, like, a 1980s college campus. And I, like, walk back through the woods. And when I come out, I'm in the field of, like, the courtyard of this college campus or whatever, and Felicia's there, and she's like, hey, and I'm like, hey, you weren't born in the 80s, like, what are you doing here? And she's like, they sent me to help you, so let's get back to my dorm before someone notices you. We got to get you out of all this crazy Victorian clothes. And I'm like, I bet. Like, we walk to her dorm room, and she changes me into, like, regular clothes. And, like, in the dream, I'm from, like, whatever time period, so I don't, like, know any of the lingo that anyone's saying. And she's like, well, there's a pep rally. Like, let's go there. It'll be a good way for you to blend in with everyone and, like, get to know everyone. Like, we don't want you alone if this guy is chasing you. And she's like, I don't know all the details, but I know I'm supposed to keep you safe. Mm-hmm. And whatever. So we go into this, like, gym, basically, like a basketball gym. And we're all sitting there waiting for this thing to begin. And I noticed there's all these, like, guys in suits with earpieces, like, all around. And, like, women in pencil skirts with earpieces, like, all around the gym. I'm like, oh, they have a lot of security for a, that was me, sorry. They have a lot of security for a college campus, you know? And it's, like, the 80s. Like, what the heck? And all the girls in front of me are, like, laughing at me because I'm, like, dressed kind of stupid. And, like, because I changed, but it wasn't my clothes. And, like, I don't know what I'm saying. I'm like, what's a pep rally and stuff? And, I noticed, like, one of the earpiece guys does, like, this, like, puts his hand on his ear like he's listening, and looks up and makes eye contact with me and starts heading my direction. And then I see two other ones from the two opposite ways kind of heading my direction. I'm like, shit, like, they must work for this guy. They know I'm here. Like, I got to get out of here. So I run out of the gymnasium. Like, I go under the lockers.
The gymnasium.
Yeah. And through this, like, little back door. And I get through... and I run out through that field, and I look out in the woods, and these dumbasses that made the fucking time portal for me to walk out didn't close it. So this elderly, like, Victorian couple that look all confused are just wandering onto this college campus. I'm like, shit, I have to save them. So me, Felicia, and these two elderly people, I'm, like, grabbing them by the hands, like, come on, Grandma, like, hobbling them back in the woods. And I look behind me, and the guy is chasing us, the ski mask guy. Yeah. I'm like, shit, knows I'm here. So I'm like, the shed's just like 20 feet forward. Like, let's hurry up and get up there. If I can get in there, they can move us to another timeline. We can get away from them, and they can save these people. So we get to the shed, and I go to swim. And, like, the guy can see us approaching the shed. Yeah. So I'm like, it's a dead end. But once we get in there, we can lock it. They can help us. I open it, and it's an empty disheveled shed. And I'm like, well, he knows we're in here, you know? So I'm like, everyone just sit up against the doors and maybe he won't push his way in. And when he does, we're all going to die. Mm-hmm. And we were just like kind of accepting it. And I was just sitting there like really sad that I couldn't save these old people and like couldn't save my mom. I failed whatever mission I was on. And he comes in and he points a gun at my face and he gets right up in my face and he's like, do you know who you are? And I was like, no, not really. And he was like, they're using you. And he was like, do you really want to work for them? And he's like, explained to me that lady was not my mom, that I was like brainwashed and hired by some political organization from the future to make sure that this woman survived so she'd give birth and her kid would give birth and her kid would give birth because they predicted a leader that they wanted and traced back her ancestry because she didn't exist in normal time. Yeah. And they wanted to make sure she was going to exist in the future.
What the?
And they were using me. And he was like, you have to come with me. We're on, like, the good side. Like, he was, like, a vigilante, like, yeah. Whatever. And I, like, took his hand and stood up, and then I woke up.
Didn't you start turning that into a book, like, pretty recently?
I wrote it. No, I didn't turn it into a book. I wrote it as, like, a short story. Yeah. A long time ago.
What the
Yeah.
Is insane.
What's wrong with you?
So detailed and felt so real.
We slept for a solid 2 hours that night.
It was like, I think I remember doing the math and it was like almost 4 hours, but not quite 4 hours of sleep. What the fuck? Yeah. Bizarre.
Part of me is like sad I don't have dreams like that. Part of me is like, thank God.
Yeah,
I don't have dreams
it can
like
be
that.
a little exhausting. Yeah. But it's also really fun and I get a lot of cool ideas for like writing and stuff. Yeah. Which is neat. But yeah, that dream was wild. That was messed up.
That's pretty
very
wild.
Very political.
Wild.
Politics, time travel. And then I described it to some guy I used to work with and he was like, that's the plot to Assassin's Creed. And I was like, I've never played that game, so I'm not copying Assassin's Creed.
I mean, actually not saying you are, but thinking about it, like...
It kind of is.
Actually, it kind of is.
Yeah, I mean, it's the plot to a lot of different, like, time travel movies. They're using you for something, whatever. Like, I'm not saying it's original or anything, but it was original in my brain that night. Yeah. It was bizarre.
Yeah, that's
Did you ever play Assassin's Creed?
No. That's what I'm saying. I've never played it. So I wouldn't have any idea.
Wild.
Yeah. Someone else say something.
I'm scared of your brain.
It's a fun brain.
I have to sleep next to her while this is happening.
Hey, at least I don't talk in my sleep. Well, I do talk in my sleep, but not like you do.
Now, here's the question. Does she smack the out of you?
She has kicked me.
You've kicked me too, though.
He's straight up elbowed me.
I wasn't when that happened.
Aww.
Just,
He wasn't asleep when that happened.
It's just an excuse.
Ryan was in the corner. He knows.
Oh. Yeah, Ryan's your sleep paralysis demon. Can you imagine waking up and it's just Ryan's face? Because that's my actual life.
Do it. Do it. Do the bow. Do it.
No, Ryan one time was sleep talking and he rolled over and got all cute with me and like curled up on me and like was all spooning me and I was like, oh, hey, babe. And he was like, hey. And I was like, hey. And then he whispers in my ear and he was like, you gonna kiss your sesame pillow? And I was like, what? And he shoved me off of him, turned over and was like, whatever. And I was like, what? And he was like, just whatever. If you're not gonna listen, whatever. I was like, you just asked me if I'm gonna kiss my sesame pillow? And he's like, just forget it. And goes back to sleep.
I remember it specifically had something to do with, I was like halfway between being asleep and not being asleep, and there was something on the TV, and they referenced something you had said earlier in the day.
And it just made some weird brain connection.
Yeah, and I was just like, I'm going to make her laugh. Sesame pillow? And you're like, what? And I'm like, I'm an idiot. Get off me.
Yeah, and then about once a week, he jerks up from sleep and goes, is my nose bleeding?
I drool so heavy when I sleep. I will think like in the middle of my sleep that like my nose is just pouring. Cause like it's kind of gross, but like I'll have like a 2-inch puddle of spit like on the mattress where I'm sleeping.
I actually drool a lot too in my sleep. And actually, I distinctly remember this morning, I had a nice big puddle of drool, and I woke up and I felt it, so I flipped my pillow, and then that side of the pillow wasn't comfy, so I flipped it back and immediately felt the cold, so I was like, oh God, no!
So
I've never been a drooler.
I drool a tiny bit, not a lot,
You
and
do.
every once in a while.
I'll have drool going to my
No, and that's
face.
what I was about to say is we don't cuddle when we sleep. Normally,
don't really either.
if
I do, he's gonna get drooled on.
well, that's the thing is it's if she actually falls asleep, which is very rare because I'm entirely too warm, and after 2 minutes she's like, okay, go away.
Yeah.
Off.
Same.
But there was one time where she actually did, and I had my arm under her, and she's had her head right here, and she literally drooled all over my arm.
Nice.
And I just stayed there.
It's moisturizer. It's her serum.
Ew! I vaguely remember
Moisturize
that,
me.
and I just remember feeling really bad and be like,
I'm gross.
I know a couple times too, I've started to doze off, leaned on your shoulder or something, and I'll feel it at the corner of my mouth, and I'm like, hope he doesn't notice that.
Yeah, I think I've drooled twice ever, but
I literally drool like Patrick from SpongeBob.
Same.
you don't do it every night.
Yeah,
But you
it's
do
when
it
I'm
often.
sleeping good is
When
when
you
I'm
sleep
drooling.
on your stomach, you do.
Yeah.
But yeah, about once a week, once every 2 weeks, I'm all comfy, and he goes, why is my nose bleeding? And I'm like, fuck, no, it's not bleeding.
Well, because when I was a kid, there was it was every 2 months, or for whatever reason, either I picked my nose too much or the air was really dry. I don't know. But I would wake up and I would just be pouring blood out of my nose for whatever reason. And that's what
Kids
freaks
get
me out.
nosebleeds.
Yeah, that's fair. That's true. I actually never had a nosebleed as a kid.
I've only had one in my life, and I was a preteen.
I don't think I've ever had an actual nosebleed. My nose has bled,
Yeah, it was 4 or 5 drops.
but I've never had a nosebleed.
Yeah. I
Mine
don't
is
think I have
has
either.
nonstop,
a faucet,
just,
yeah.
yeah. And that's what freaks me out about it. Because I remember as a kid, you think, I'm dying now. This
Yeah.
is when it's going to happen.
Yeah.
This is how it happens. I just bleed out my nose.
Yep.
Yeah, no, never had a nosebleed. Thank goodness.
My dad said he had not an artery, I guess, but a vein burst in his nose that he had to go get it cauterized because it wouldn't stop.
Jesus.
Damn.
Ugh.
Yeah.
I remember one time, this was really weird. I remember one time we were watching Prometheus.
Like Prometheus and Bob?
No. It might not have been Prometheus. It was some movie, and it was I don't know why I'm thinking it's Prometheus. I feel like it started with P, but it was a movie about a cruise ship, and the cruise ship started sinking, and it was a survival movie.
Yeah. It's it's not Prometheus.
Ghost ship?
No, I know exactly what
I
you're
think
talking about.
My parents and I used to have
Ooh, I'm
movie
gonna
nights a
look it
lot,
up.
and we
Ghost
watched
ship?
Prometheus too. It
No,
wasn't
it's not
Ship.
Ghost Ship.
Hunt for Red October?
No, but this is really
Jackal?
weird. Just shut up.
It's a jackal. Jackal?
Jackal.
Oh my
It's
god.
a jackal.
Just because I remember we were sitting there and I looked over at my dad and there was this little teeny tiny spot and blood just started coming out of his neck.
Poseidon.
Poseidon.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Poseidon.
But yeah, it was super weird because blood just started coming out of his neck and it was almost like there was a pinhole, this teeny little spot, and he wiped it and it was just pouring. It was super weird, and we put a Band-Aid over it, and I remember the plastic part of the Band-Aid was completely clear, and then you could see the little cotton pad in the middle of it, and the whole thing just soaked super fast.
Weird.
It was super, and it closed up and stopped eventually, but I just remember looking over and my dad just got blood
Did he
coming
have
down
a
his
skin?
neck.
Does he have skin tags?
No.
Because I know they can have blood vessels in them, and if you accidentally scratch it off or something, they can
I think
bleed
I
a
popped.
lot.
I think I popped off a skin tag yesterday, and I was so happy about it.
My dad used to tie his off with floss and
Yeah, they make a remover tool that puts a teeny tiny rubber band over them, cuts off circulation. They just fall off painlessly after a while.
I remember I used to have one. When I was a kid, I used to have one in my armpit,
Yeah, that's a common spot.
and every
for 'em.
once in a while, I just
I don't think I've ever had one.
Speaking of scary blood stories, my dad
God,
used
don't
to.
make me pass out.
No, my dad used to terrify me and my sister. He would get these fake prank sets, like one of the earliest things, and it was really innocent. But he had a fart machine, and you could stick
Oh, I
under
love
someone's chair,
those.
and
Yeah.
you could press the button. So he's always pranked somebody somehow, way or another. I was probably 6, maybe 7 years old, probably younger. I have no idea. But I walked in the kitchen. You've been in my parents' house. I walked in the kitchen late at night. He's like, Ryan, come here, check this out. And he had one of those fake tongues. And he's like, I'm going to pierce my tongue. And I was like, don't do that. And he does it, and it's one of those fake tongues, so he pierces it. And he's like, oh, no. He's like, I think I messed it up. and he goes like pull the needle out and just blood.
Oh my God.
It's dripping down his chin. He's like, ah! I'm like 6 years old. I'm like, fuck. Dad.
That is horrible. I can see your dad doing that kind of His dad is a dork.
That is awesome.
He's like the master of dad jokes.
There was one night, do you remember the movie The Ring?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So me and my sister were watching it, and it came out, like early, mid-2000s?
Yeah.
So I wasn't, like, quite a teenager, but I was still, 9-ish years old, something like that. And my mom was working graveyard as a nurse. I can't say where, but she was working graveyard as a nurse, and we were all watching The Ring, and me and my sister were kind of falling asleep. I was on the couch, and we're watching this, that, and the other. And my dad comes up and like scares the mess out of me and my sister. We're just like, oh my God, whatever. And everything calms back down. We go back to watching the movie. We're like almost asleep. Mom busts in the door late, like from working.
Yeah.
This is like probably like a Thursday or Friday night or something. She busts in the door, just got off work in like, 15 hours, like just wants to get home. She's like, and me and my sister were like, oh my God, fuck. And she's like, what?
Yeah, we used to camp in the backyard a lot. Me and my brother and my parents would come out there and like start tapping on the outside of the tent because they let us watch the Blair Witch Project when I was really young.
That's fucked.
Oh yeah.
And that was the scariest scene is when all the hands are like tapping on their tent. Oh, that makes me sick.
I just watched the sequel last week and it's so bad.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's stupid.
Really
Don't
a
watch
shame.
it.
The first one was good, but I was just thinking too that when the Babadook came out on Netflix, my friends used to come by my barracks room and pound on my door yelling Duke, scaring the out of me because I lived by myself. It was
Big
the worst.
noise.
It was the worst.
When we were actually just last weekend when we were camping, Stone went to go use the bathhouse, and the door, for whatever reason, like it had an automatic thing would pull it shut, but it didn't have any kind of like deadeners or softeners.
Oh, it just smacks.
It smacks.
Oh,
Yeah.
our front door does that.
So like me, him, and you know how it is. Like you just want to hang out with your buddies. Stone had to go use the bathroom. He had to take a and we just all follow him like up to the bathhouse. Me and Jake just stood outside, messed around, talking, and it was taking Stone a while. So
Stone was scared.
yeah, we had to walk. He was skilled. We had to walk with him, and but he was in there for a minute. So I just pulled the door probably like 2 inches just off the hinge, and as hard as I could, just bang.
Oh my God. That's so mean.
That is amazing.
Yeah, I know the
Then he
last
was
place.
really scared.
Yeah,
The last
scared the
place
shit
we
out of him.
camped, the door was like that.
Yeah.
And when I went to leave, I thought someone shot me.
Yeah.
Because it was so loud and like right in my ear, and I wasn't expecting it. And it slammed like way faster than a door should slam. So like
Yeah.
the timing didn't make sense in my head, and I immediately was like, "Who is shooting? They're right near me."
I don't know why, but that's one of my favorite pranks is like when someone's in a bathroom and they think they're like safe and all quiet and everything. I love to slam something against the door.
Oh yeah, speaking of which, this morning I scared the absolute piss out of
Yeah.
Ryan. He was getting
Not even
in the
trying
shower.
to.
I really wasn't. I thought he would have heard me because like we got up early, hung out in bed, cuddled and stuff. He gets out of bed to go take a shower. I was gonna go back to sleep. But I was like, screw it. I'm awake now. I'm just going to get up. And I had to pee really bad. And he's going to get in the shower. So he's like all like leaning over naked, like turning the shower on. Just like,
Yeah.
all exposed.
Everything's dangling everywhere.
Like head in the shower, but whole body out. And I like got up, like turned your fan off. Because he puts like a loud fan on in the room. So I figured like he'd hear me up shuffling around doing stuff. I genuinely wasn't trying to freak him out. And I walked in the bathroom and was like, I got pee. And I was like, and he was like, fuck! Literally, like, his whole face turned red. He jumped up and like grabbed his chest, like,
My nuts were the last thing to turn around.
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like a lot
I
of
was
people,
like, I'm sorry, babe. I wasn't trying to scare you.
like a lot of people at work know that like I jump scare really easy.
I do
Like
too.
you could just be walking by me and I turn around and aren't expecting me to be like, oh,
Yeah.
do that to me. And like there are so many people at work who have made it a game to jump scare me.
Yeah.
That's
It
just
is
mean.
so annoying
Yeah,
because I'm
I-
like, don't do that. I'll get violent, and if you get me arrested for assault, it's your fault.
Exactly. I genuinely do not enjoy being scared. Like, I like being scared in the sense of like a movie or a haunted house, but
Yeah.
like like sneaking up behind me in the house and stuff, like it's genuinely not funny to me.
Yeah, I'm like,
I can't laugh at all.
Don't scare me in a safe space.
Yeah,
if
it
I'm
gives me
expecting
anxiety.
something to freak me out, that's fine. But
Yeah.
like even after I watch scary movies, I will go and marathon Tinkerbell movies to
Yeah.
make myself feel better.
That's so funny you say that because Tinkerbell movies were exactly what I watch after a scary movie.
It's because
Like,
fucking Tinkerbell movies
they're
are
so
adorable
good.
and wholesome and great. I was literally arguing with my friend yesterday about like what fairy would be because she's like, you'd be Vidya. And I was like, I wouldn't be fucking Vidya. I'd be fucking Tinkerbell. There's a whole movie about how Tinkerbell had to learn how to be nice to people.
Yeah, that's
I'd
true.
be Tinkerbell.
You probably would be Tinkerbell, to be honest.
I'm a logical brain. My favorite color is green, and I'm an asshole half the time. Yeah,
I feel like I'd be
Tinkerbell.
the dumb redneck one, whatever her name is.
I've traded doing
Are you
jump.
talking about Rosetta?
Is that who that is? I haven't watched that. Yeah, I'd be her probably.
Shut up! My voice is all today, motherfucker.
I traded jump scares with Grayson to just poking her armpits when she least expect it.
Oh, I hate
Still
that.
counts as a jump scare.
But like at least I'm not like walking up behind you and doing it. Like we're like already talking or doing something. I'm just
Well,
like,
yeah, if you're like looking at me and you do it, it's different.
To be
but-
fair,
Should be fair.
to be fair.
shut the up. Eric is ticklish under his butt cheek. And so when he least expects it...
Tell me something I don't know.
Because I always like to grab up on his butt anyways. But every once in a while, I'll go and do it. And I'll just be like...
Ryan's ticklish everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Literally everywhere.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. It's hard to even cuddle him because, like, I'll, like, put my arm around him and, like, it's touching my belly. It tickles. It's going to have to touch somewhere.
Her fingers can graze my side and I'm screaming. I'm like,
Yeah.
ah!
You did something to me the other day. I was like, stop the tickles. No, somebody at work was like doing this.
I'm very ticklish.
Oh, you too?
Yes.
They were like doing this to my arm.
Oh,
And I was
yeah,
like, first of all, stop touching my chicken wing. Second,
Bingo wings. Bingo wings.
Second of all, that tickles. Stop it.
Yeah, Ryan calls them bingo wings.
Bingo wings?
Bingo.
For those of you
Well,
that aren't,
that's been renamed.
aren't able to see this, he's wiggling his little underarm chubbies.
Imagine your grandma just went to go play bingo. Bingo.
Thanks. I'm going to insert that in the video now.
That's great.
Insert.
I guess we should
Insert
exit this
cash
one
is
out.
like payment.
We gotta go home and do wedding
You've
stuff
been
because,
paid to complete transaction.
in
Sorry.
case y'all didn't know, we're getting married on Saturday, so we won't be on next week's podcast. It's probably just gonna be an Eric and Alicia cast.
Oh, can I share one more thing
Yeah.
before the end of the podcast?
Of course.
I got to share my song that I came up with this morning.
Oh yeah, but he sang all morning.
I got to remember what it was.
It was the laminate.
Yeah, I remember that my lyrics, but I'm trying to remember the original song.
Sing it.
Oh,
It's
The-
I really want to see you
yeah.
tonight.
But I really want to see you tonight.
I'm not talking
About
about
the
moving
minute.
in, and
I
I
don't
don't
wanna
want to
change your life.
But
But
there's a warm wind blowing the stars around, and I really want to see you tonight. Yeah, that song.
That one?
You know that song?
No.
Oh,
Ah.
lame. Anyway,
But I want to hear
the
Ryan's
listeners
remix.
will know it. It's a popular song.
Stop.
My version is, I'm not talking about the laminate, and I don't want to change your tile, but there's a real good sale on hardwood, and I'd love to lay some floor tonight.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And he sang that all morning.
Naked, out of the shower.
I'm so
Yep.
sorry.
I'm not.
You guys have a very interesting house.
Yeah.
Such musical people.
Yeah, I feel like our kids are going to have fun one day.
Yeah.
We read
or
it.
be miserable. One of the two.
I'm dragging this out even further,
That's
but
okay.
we redo like every theme song to every show we watch. Our latest one's Big Bang Theory.
Oh no.
Yeah, we just skip all of it. We just sit in silence and stare at each other until the artichokes begin to drool part. But we say, artichokes began to drool.
And then sit there in silence until the last bang, and we're like, bang!
What the fuck?
That's our version of the song.
Oh my.
That's great.
The artichokes began to drool.
So since we went
Bang! thing.
Since we went to Hawaii, her friend Kara does this thing where she's just like bop, chop, bop, chop, and she just like does it to like the beat of all the songs.
She'll just put in random like syllables, and it drives her husband crazy.
I think I remember you telling me this
now.
before.
It's so
I
funny,
do this
but now he
because
does it.
it's hilarious. But recently, it's turned into me just going chop. Like every third, fourth syllable when we're in the car. So it's just it's always chop.
Whenever we do these kinds of things to songs, I always try to do something logical with it. Like I just try to mix the theme in. Like ever since you guys started doing the baked beans thing, we started doing the baked beans thing, but I like will sing whole songs, but I'll make it about cooking baked beans.
Yeah.
Like there's a story
We do the
to
same
it.
thing.
Yeah.
But so like now we do that about chop. And it's always chop. And like there was something the other day where we were reading something. It was like I don't know what the song was, but it was like going and going, and then there's like a double beat, like a doot doot, and we literally like we're just sitting there listening to it. At the same time, we both go chop chop in the car to each other in the middle of traffic, and then we both just stop and are dying.
Doesn't it feel so good when you like are in sync like that though?
Yeah.
It happens so much. That's why we started doing
we
the high five thing.
thing.
Because it's so constant.
So over celebration for things like that.
We can't share what your over celebration is because
I'm going to. It's just them.
Okay.
We're not gonna tell everybody else, and like the podcast won't come out until after the wedding.
Okay.
So we're learning a ballroom dance for our first dance,
Oh.
Cute.
an actual choreographed one. We decided to wait until 5 days before our wedding to start learning it.
Hell yeah.
It's
going
like a
great.
2.5 minute. We've already got all the moves down.
going great.
We just have to smooth them out and make them cute now. So
Practicing.
I think it's going to be okay. But that's part of the reason why we can't stay super late tonight. And we're just continuing to drag this on, even though we say that. No, so we've been learning it, and we like got this one move that's been like really, really tricky. And I don't know what came over me.
It's happened twice.
Yeah, twice when we got hard moves. Like when we got it like on time and like just nailed it. Because there's this one where I like spin into him and then we freeze and look at each other and then lean suddenly.
Aww.
And we got it. And I freaked out and punched our broom that was like, like I like, and then like just decked the broom and it flew
Just
across
like
the room.
Mike Tyson, this Dyson, dude. Like, just
I've been waiting to say that.
yeah.
So I don't know what came over me, and Ryan just started like cry laughing, and we had to stop for like 30 minutes so I could catch my breath just from the over celebration.
Yeah.
Derek Jeter, that cedar.
Oh my god. Roll for funny.
8.
No.
Not
8.
funny.
But a similar thing happened where he was like, "Don't do that." Where did y'all ever play that game that got popular on TikTok where you both look at each other and try to say the same thing? Like you're like 1, 2, 3,
No.
blank.
It's so much fun.
We did, and we played it for like,
A month.
I mean, not a month, but it was like several days in a row that we just like, I'd be like, "All right, ready?" And he'd be like, "Yeah." And I'd be like, 1, 2, 3, and he'd be like, "Burger," and I'd be like, "Fucking table lamp" or something. Like it never made sense. And like sometimes we'd get close and we'd get all excited, but we never did it. And then just one day, it was right before bed, we were like, "All right, one more." And then we're going to bed. We're like, 1, 2, 3, baseball. And we both said baseball. And he wigged the fuck out. I mean,
I think I still got the footage
he
saved.
was in his underwear, yeah, threw the blanket off of him in bed, got up, and just scream-lapped the house. And then was like, "I'm gonna turn the lights off," and just started smacking all the light switches and stuff. And we have it all on video because we have a Ring camera in our living room, so...
I went legitimately psychotic. That was like...
Yeah, like I just laid in bed like, "Ah!" And he lapped the house screaming, and it was like midnight.
That's
It was
awesome.
great, yeah.
Wow.
I don't know how we both said baseball because we don't watch baseball. We're not baseball fans. Like, I played softball for one season when I was 9. That's about the closest relation I have.
It's not gonna work.
Do it.
Ours are normally so organic.
Do it!
Do it. Do the roar.
Are you doing the 1, 2, 3 thing?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's
try
not
it.
gonna. My
Do
mind
it.
is blank.
Do it. Any
No.
word.
First word that comes to your mind.
1, 2, 3. Penis.
I was gonna say wiener.
I was gonna say wiener.
God. I literally was like, me and Ryan are gonna go next, and I'm gonna say wiener. Oh my god.
That's funny.
That's
All right.
crazy.
3, 2, 1.
Asparagus.
foods.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Bacon wrapped asparagus.
Oh my god.
We have both bacon and asparagus in our fridge. I got
3, 2, 1. Steak.
Brussels sprout.
Oh.
I love you. It was like,
all we
we're
had.
getting closer. And then the second it's like, oh.
Yeah.
Hi, Bubba.
We tried.
Steak and sprats.
Okay. Well, in the interest of you guys getting home in a
we
timely
should end
manner,
this.
Yeah.
thanks again for joining us on the Roll for Funny podcast. I hope we entertained you. Please check out all of our socials in the description boxes or on any of our sites. Does anybody have anything else?
Don't have bad dreams. Write your dreams down when you wake up and send them to us, and I'll decipher them one day.
Oh, that would be fun.
Yeah, anybody, if we can get like 10 people to do it, that'd be a fun.
Listener
we could
dreams.
decipher
Put them in the
them.
comments.
Yeah.
Dream
Dream on. Dream, dream, dream. Dream, 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 dream. Okay, bye, guys.
Okay, bye.
Bye.